Marcus and Zoe Johnson sat across from each other on the low-speed train from New Portland Spaceport. They had not seen each other in 3 years. Marcus looked tired. His dark skin seemed ashy after months on Europa base without real sunlight. He rubbed his eyes and smiled at his sister. "You look good, Zoe," he said. "Life on Earth still treating you well?" Zoe's quantum engineering lab coat was folded neatly beside her. She had come straight from work when she got the news. As well as can be expected with Mom and Dad gone. They fell silent as the train hummed along the track. Both siblings were still in shock. Their parents, Daniel and Amara Johnson, had been killed in a shuttle accident near Saturn just 5 days ago. The news had reached them separately, Marcus on his research base on Jupiter's moon, and Zoe at her lab in Beijing. Now they were heading to meet Howard Blackwell, the family lawyer. "Did you know them well?" Marcus asked, looking out the window as the rebuilt Seattle skyline came into view. The Space Needle stood tall among newer, stranger buildings. "Who? Mom and Dad?" Zoe asked. "No, the Blackwells. Howard and his father before him worked for our family for what, 60 years? Zoe shook her head. "I only met Howard a few times as a kid. Mom and Dad trusted him completely. 3 generations of Blackwells have handled the Johnson family business." The train slowed as it pulled into Seattle Central Station. The siblings grabbed their bags and stepped onto the platform. A sleek black car waited for them, driver standing by the open door. "Mr. and Ms. Johnson," the driver said with a small bow. "Mr. Blackwell sent me to bring you to his office." 20 minutes later, they stepped into the Blackwell Law offices, on the 70th floor of the Harrison Tower. The receptionist, an actual human and not an AI, showed them into Howard's private office. Howard Blackwell stood as they entered. He was a thin man in his 50s with carefully styled gray hair and expensive clothes. His smile seemed practiced. "Marcus, Zoe, how good to see you both, though I wish it were under better circumstances." He gestured to the chairs in front of his desk. "Please sit. Can I offer you anything? Water? Coffee?" They both declined and took their seats. Howard's office was impressive. One wall was entirely glass, looking out over the Seattle harbor. Old paper books lined another wall, a show of wealth in a world where physical books were rare. "I was deeply saddened to hear about your parents," Howard said, folding his hands on his desk. "They were not just clients, but friends." "Thank you," Marcus said. "We'd like to know about their will." Howard's expression shifted subtly. "Of course. That's why we're here." He tapped his desk, and a holographic screen appeared between them. "I've prepared everything." He swiped through several documents. "I'm afraid I have some difficult news. Your parents' estate is much smaller than you might expect." Zoe leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "They founded Johnson Technologies. Their shield designs protect every human settlement beyond Mars." Howard nodded sympathetically. "Yes, but their recent experimental technologies failed to pass Solar System Safety Commission inspections. The resulting lawsuits drained most of their liquid assets." Marcus and Zoe exchanged glances. This didn't make sense. Their parents had called them both just 3 weeks ago, excited about a breakthrough. "What experimental technologies?" Marcus asked. Howard waved his hand dismissively. "Various projects. Your parents were always reaching for the stars, sometimes without proper testing protocols." He slid physical documents across his desk. "All that remains is the family home in New Portland and a small research facility on Mars. Given the costs of maintaining both properties, I recommend selling them immediately." So he picked up one of the papers. "This doesn't sound like Mom and Dad. They were careful scientists." "Grief can make it hard to see loved ones clearly," Howard said. "They made some poor business decisions in their final years." He pointed to signature lines on the documents. "If you'll both sign here, I can begin the process of liquidating these properties and transferring the modest remaining funds to your accounts." Marcus didn't reach for the pen Howard offered. "We'd like some time to review these documents first." Howard's smile tightened slightly. "Of course, but I should mention that there are maintenance bills coming due on the Mars facility. Signing today would allow me to handle those immediately." "We'll need at least until tomorrow," Zoe said firmly. Howard nodded. Very well. Shall we meet again at, say, 10 tomorrow morning? Outside on the street, the siblings walked in silence for a block before Zoe spoke. He's lying, she said quietly. Marcus nodded. I know. Did you notice how he never looked at us when talking about their research? And there's something else, Zoe said, pulling out the document Howard had given her. See this signature? It's supposed to be Mom's from 3 months ago. Marcus looked at it closely. What about it? Mom developed a quantum signature system 5 years ago. All her legal documents use it, a tiny pattern of quantum entangled particles embedded in her signature. It's impossible to fake. Zoe pointed to a spot on the paper. This doesn't have it. This isn't Mom's signature. Marcus looked around at the busy street. We shouldn't talk here. Let's go to the house. 3 hours later, they stood in their parents' home in New Portland. The house was quiet and felt empty without Daniel and Amara's presence. In their father's study, they found his personal terminal. Let's see if we can find any clues, Marcus said, sitting at the desk. The terminal requested DNA verification before unlocking. Marcus pressed his thumb to the scanner, and the screen lit up. That's odd, he said. Dad set this to open for both of us. He was expecting us to need it. The terminal displayed a single video file. Marcus clicked it, and their father's face appeared on screen. Kids, if you're watching this, something has happened to your mother and me, Daniel Johnson said, his eyes serious. Howard has instructions to give you our research, all of it. We've made a breakthrough. We've discovered how to fold space-time without exotic matter. The complete equations are in your mother's locket, Zoe. Zoe's hand went to the silver locket around her neck, a gift from her mother years ago. If Howard hasn't told you about our discovery, their father continued, then something is very wrong. Be careful who you trust. We love you both. The video ended. Marcus and Zoe looked at each other in shock. Howard never mentioned any space-time research, Marcus said slowly. Zoe opened her locket. Inside, instead of a photo, was a tiny data chip. He lied to us, she whispered. But why? I don't know, Marcus said, his voice hardening. But we're going to find out. Marcus carefully inserted the small data chip from Zoe's locket into his father's terminal. The screen flickered, then filled with complex equations and diagrams. Neither sibling spoke for several minutes as they scrolled through the files. This is incredible, Zoe finally said. She pointed to a section of mathematical formulas. Mom and Dad figured out how to bend space without exotic matter. Do you understand what this means? Marcus nodded slowly. Faster than light travel without the need for unobtainable materials. They solved the problem that has blocked human expansion to other star systems. But why would Howard lie about this? Zoe asked. This technology is worth trillions. It would make us the most important family in the solar system. Marcus continued exploring the files on the terminal. There must be more to the story. Let's keep looking. After another hour of searching, they found a hidden folder marked with their mother's birthday as the password. Inside were security videos from their parents' Mars research facility. The siblings watched in silence as one video showed Howard Blackwell entering the lab when no one else was present. He copied files onto a portable drive and then accessed the facility's communication system. That's 3 days before their shuttle accident, Marcus said, checking the timestamp. The next video showed Howard at the shuttle bay, his hands moving quickly over a maintenance panel on their parents' personal craft. He tampered with their shuttle, Zoe whispered, her voice shaking with anger. He killed them. Marcus's face hardened. And now he wants us to sign away our rights to their research facility before anyone discovers what he did. They kept searching and found financial records showing that Howard had recently formed a new company called Starbridge Technologies. The company had filed patents that looked suspiciously similar to parts of Daniel and Amara Johnson's work. He's stealing their research, Zoe said. Piece by piece, just enough to not raise suspicion. Marcus stood up and paced the room. We need proof that connects him directly to the shuttle sabotage. The videos are good, but a good lawyer could claim he was just doing maintenance. Zoe thought for a moment. The Mars facility. It must have more detailed records. Security systems. On research stations track everything. But we'd need to go to Mars to access them, Marcus said. That would alert Howard that we suspect something. Not necessarily, Zoe replied, a small smile forming on her face. Remember who designed the security systems for Johnson Technologies? Me. She moved to the terminal and began typing rapidly. I can access the Mars facility remotely if I can find the right back door. For the next few hours, Zoe worked on bypassing the facility's security while Marcus prepared food. The house's automated kitchen still had their parents' favorite meals programmed, which made both siblings feel a mix of comfort and sadness. I'm in, Zoe called out finally. The facility systems are online. Marcus hurried back to the study. On screen, they could see live feeds from the Mars research base. It appeared empty but well maintained by automated systems. Check the shuttle bay logs, Marcus suggested. See if there are records of what Howard did. Zoe navigated through the system and found the maintenance logs. Here, 3 days before the accident, Howard logged in to perform what he called a routine navigation check on Mom and Dad's shuttle. He had the authorization codes to do it. Can you find what exactly he changed? Zoe dug deeper into the system. Yes. The shuttle's navigation system was reprogrammed to take a slight detour near Saturn's rings. The course change was small enough that Mom and Dad wouldn't notice until it was too late. Do we have enough to prove he did it on purpose? Marcus asked. Almost, Zoe said, still searching. We need a motive that will stand up in court. The video shows him copying files, but we need to prove he knew what he was stealing. After more searching, they found a series of encrypted messages between Howard and someone identified only as Helios Contact. Zoe managed to break the simple encryption. These messages show Howard agreed to obtain the Johnson folding technology for 2 billion credits, she said, paid by something called the Helios Consortium. I've heard of them, Marcus said. They're Johnson Technology's biggest rival. They've been trying to develop their own shield systems for years without success. Zoe sat back in her chair. So, Howard kills our parents, steals their research, and plans to sell it to their rivals, all while pretending to help us as our family lawyer. Her hands clenched into fists. We can't let him get away with this. We won't, Marcus said firmly. But we need to be smart about this. Howard is dangerous and clearly desperate. They spent the rest of the night planning. By morning, they had decided on a strategy that would use Howard's greed against him. Are you sure this will work? Zoe asked as they prepared to leave for their meeting with Howard. Marcus nodded. People like Howard think they're the smartest person in any room. We'll use that. And if something goes wrong? Then we use this, Marcus said, showing her a small device. Standard Europa security issue. One shot will paralyze him for 10 minutes. Where did you get that? Zoe asked, surprised. Europa is dangerous. You don't live on the ice without protection, Marcus replied simply. At 10 o'clock exactly, they entered Howard's office building. The receptionist showed them straight in. Howard was waiting with fresh coffee and more papers ready to sign. Good morning, he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Have you had time to review the documents? We have, Marcus said, taking a seat. And we have some questions about our parents' research. Howard's smile dimmed slightly. Oh? What sort of questions? We're curious about Project Doorway, Zoe said, watching Howard's face carefully. Our parents mentioned it in their last message to us. Howard's hand twitched slightly, but his face remained neutral. I'm not familiar with that name. Your parents worked on many projects, most of which went nowhere. That's strange, Marcus said, because we found files that suggest Project Doorway was their most important work. Something about folding spacetime? Howard's expression hardened almost imperceptibly. I think you may be confused. Your parents were brilliant, but spacetime folding is theoretical at best. No one has solved that problem. Zoe took out her locket and placed it on Howard's desk. Our parents did, and we know you knew about it. Howard stared at the locket, his confident demeanor cracking slightly. What is this? The truth, Marcus said simply. And soon, everyone will know it. Howard reached for the locket on his desk, but Zoe was faster. She snatched it back and held it tight in her hand. What exactly do you think you know? Howard asked, his voice colder now. The fake friendliness was gone. We know you went to our parents' Mars facility 3 days before their accident, Marcus said. We have security footage of you copying their research files. And tampering with their shuttle, Zoe added. Howard leaned back in his chair. His eyes darted to his desk drawer for a split second. Those are serious accusations. Do you have proof that would stand up in court? We have the video recordings, Marcus said. And we found your messages to the Helios Consortium. 2 billion credits to steal our parents' work? That's what their lives were worth to you? For a moment, Howard said nothing. Then he smiled, but it wasn't pleasant. Video can be faked. Messages can be forged. Your parents had many enemies in the scientific community who might want to frame me. We also have this, Zoe said, holding up her locket. The complete research on space-time folding. Our father left us a message telling us where to find it. Howard's smile vanished. His eyes locked on the locket. That's not possible. I searched both of your parents personally after the accident. They had nothing like that on them. The moment he said those words, he realized his mistake. Marcus and Zoe exchanged glances. You just admitted you were there when they died, Marcus said quietly. The official report says they were found by a Saturn Mining Corporation rescue team. Howard's face paled. He quickly reached for his desk drawer and pulled out a small black weapon. I didn't want to do this, he said, pointing it at them. I gave you a chance to walk away with something, now you'll get nothing. You killed our parents, Zoe said, her voice shaking with anger. Did you really think we would just sign their legacy away? Your parents were fools, Howard snapped. They wanted to give the technology away for free. Do you know how much the DU space-time folding technology is worth? It would make the owner the most powerful person in the solar system. So you decided that should be you, Marcus said. Howard stood up, keeping the weapon aimed at them. Enough talking. Here's what's going to happen. You're both going to transfer all rights to the Mars facility to me right now. Then you're going to hand over that locket. And then what? Zoe asked. You'll let us go? Howard smiled coldly. Then you'll have a tragic accident, just like your parents. The Johnson family line ends today. Marcus shifted slightly in his chair. Before you kill us, don't you want to know if we made copies of the evidence? This made Howard pause. Did you? What do you think? Marcus asked. We're the children of Daniel and Amara Johnson. We grew up being told to always have a backup plan. Howard's eyes narrowed. You're bluffing. We sent copies of everything to the Solar System Security Commission this morning, Zoe said, including the footage of you tampering with our parents' shuttle. They're probably on their way here right now. Howard's hand tightened on his weapon. You're lying. The SSSC offices are on Luna. Even with priority transmission, they wouldn't get the files until tomorrow. Unless we had help, Marcus said. My research partner on Europa has direct SSSC clearance. He sent the files through their priority channel. Doubt flickered across Howard's face. His eyes darted to his desk screen as if thinking about checking for any alerts. In that moment of distraction, Marcus moved. His hand came up with the small device he had shown Zoe earlier. Before Howard could react, Marcus fired. A nearly invisible pulse hit Howard in the chest. He froze in place, his body rigid, the weapon still in his outstretched hand. Neural disruptor, Marcus explained as he stood and carefully took the weapon from Howard's paralyzed fingers. Standard security equipment for researchers on Europa. The ice predators there don't give you a second chance. Zoe let out a shaky breath. Is he conscious? Yes, Marcus said. He can hear and see everything, he just can't move. It will wear off in about 10 minutes. Zoe walked around the desk and looked Howard in the eyes. That was your second mistake. Thinking we came here without protection. Marcus used Howard's desk system to make a call. The screen lit up with the face of a serious-looking woman in a blue uniform. Captain Olivia Diaz, Solar System Security Commission, the woman said. Mr. Johnson, is everything all right? We received your data package an hour ago. We're fine, Captain, Marcus replied. But we need a security team at Howard Blackwell's office immediately. He just confessed to murdering our parents and threatened to kill us too. We have agents 2 minutes from your location, Captain Diaz said. Stay on the line. While they waited, Zoe searched Howard's office. In a hidden safe behind one of the paper books, she found a data drive. Look at this, she called to Marcus. It's labeled Johnson Tech Complete. Marcus examined it. He must have copied all of our parents' research, not just the space-folding technology. Less than 5 minutes later, 4 SSSC agents burst into the office. They secured Howard, who was just beginning to regain movement in his fingers. Howard, Blackwell, you are under arrest for the murders of Daniel and Amara Johnson, theft of proprietary technology and attempted murder, the lead agent said, as they placed restraints on him. As Howard was led away, he looked back at Marcus and Zoe. You have no idea what you've done, he said. The Helios Consortium won't stop with me. That technology is too valuable. We'll take our chances, Marcus said. After the agents left with Howard, Marcus and Zoe stood alone in the office. What now? Zoe asked. Marcus looked at the data drive they had found. Now we go to Mars. We need to see exactly what Mom and Dad built in that facility. Do you think Howard was telling the truth about the Helios Consortium? Zoe asked. Probably, Marcus said. But that's a problem for tomorrow. Today we got justice for Mom and Dad. Zoe clutched her locket. Not justice, just the beginning of it. Their work was meant to help humanity reach the stars. We need to make sure that happens. Marcus nodded. We will, together. As they left Howard's office, both siblings knew their lives had changed forever. The legacy their parents left them was bigger than they had imagined, and much more dangerous. 3 days later, Marcus and Zoe stepped off the transport shuttle at Olympus City, the largest human settlement on Mars. The red planet had been colonized for over 50 years, but the thin atmosphere still required everyone to wear breathing masks outside the domed cities. The research facility is about 2 hours from here by rover, Zoe said, checking the location on her wrist device. I've rented us one with extra security features. Marcus nodded. Good thinking. We don't know if Howard was working alone. They collected their luggage and made their way to the rover rental station. The vehicle Zoe had selected was larger than standard, with reinforced shielding and upgraded sensors. Planning to go somewhere dangerous? The rental agent asked with a raised eyebrow. Just careful, Marcus replied. The Martian desert can be unpredictable. Once they were alone in the rover and headed out of the city, Zoe activated the security. Sweep. The scanner checked for tracking devices and listening equipment. We're clean, she said after the scan finished. No one's watching us. Yet, Marcus added. Captain Diaz warned us that the Helios Consortium has people everywhere. They've been trying to get the news about Howard's arrest contained. The rover rolled across the red Martian landscape. The massive peak of Olympus Mons dominated the horizon. Behind them as they drove east toward their parents' hidden research station. Have you looked at the research files from the data drive yet? Zoe asked. Marcus shook his head. I wanted to wait until we were at the facility. Some of the equations I saw were beyond even my understanding. I think we need to see the actual equipment to make sense of it all. After nearly 2 hours of driving, they came to a ridge overlooking a small valley. There, partly built into the side of a cliff, was a modest research station with the Johnson Technologies logo on its main door. Home sweet home, Marcus said as they parked the rover, at least for the next few days. They approached the main entrance and Zoe placed her hand on the scanner. The system hummed for a moment, then a green light flashed. Welcome, Dr. Johnson, an automated voice said as the doors slid open. That's strange, Zoe said. I don't have a doctorate. Mom must have given us full access, Marcus replied. She always said we'd earn our doctorates someday. Inside, the facility was clean and well maintained by automated systems. It was smaller than they expected, just 6 rooms in total. The main lab took up most of the space. "This is it," Marcus said as they entered the lab. "This is where they made the breakthrough." The center of the room was dominated by a circular platform about 3 meters across. Around it were workstations, with complex equipment. Everything was powered down. "Let's bring it online," Zoe said. She went to the main control panel and placed her hand on another scanner. The systems began to hum to life. Lights came on throughout the facility and holographic displays appeared above the workstations. "Welcome back, Dr. Johnson," the facility's AI said. "It has been 42 days since your last visit. Would you like to resume Project Doorway?" "Yes," Marcus replied. "Show us the current status." The circular platform in the center of the room began to glow softly. Above it, a holographic display showed a complex series of equations that matched what they had seen on their father's terminal back on Earth. "Project Doorway is at stage 3 of implementation," the AI reported. "The prototype has been successfully tested at microscale. Full-scale application awaits final approval." "They actually built it," Zoe whispered. "They didn't just solve the equations, they made a working prototype." Marcus walked around the platform, examining the equipment. "This isn't just a theory anymore. This is real." They spent the next several hours reviewing their parents' research logs. Daniel and Amara Johnson had discovered a way to fold space-time without using exotic matter like negative mass or dark energy. Things that were theoretically necessary but practically impossible to obtain in useful quantities. "Look at this," Zoe said, pointing to one of the logs. "They found a way to create a temporary energy field that mimics the effects of exotic matter, but only needs standard fusion power." "And this is the key part," Marcus added, bringing up another file. "They figured out how to contain the field so it doesn't affect anything outside its boundaries. That's what no one else has managed to do." "With this technology, a ship could travel between Earth and Mars in minutes instead of days," Zoe said. "And reaching other star systems would take weeks instead of centuries." Marcus nodded. No wonder the Helios Consortium wanted it badly enough to kill for it. As night fell on Mars, they continued working. Zoe focused on understanding the engineering aspects of the device while Marcus studied the theoretical framework behind it. "I think I understand how to activate the full-scale prototype," Zoe said after several more hours of work. "Should we try it?" Marcus hesitated. "We should be careful. We don't know exactly how stable it is." Before Zoe could respond, an alarm sounded throughout the facility. "Warning," the AI announced. "Multiple vehicles approaching from the west. Estimated arrival time 15 minutes. Marcus rushed to the security console. 3 heavy rovers moving fast. No identification signals. "Helios?" Zoe asked. "Most likely," Marcus replied. "They must have figured out where we went." Zoe looked at the circular platform in the center of the room. "We need to secure the prototype. We can't let them get it." "How?" "We can't move it, and we can't destroy our parents' work." Zoe thought for a moment, then her eyes lit up. "We don't have to do either. We can use it." "What do you mean?" "The prototype creates a space-time bubble. Inside that bubble, time and space can be manipulated." Zoe started typing rapidly at the main console. "If I can get it working, we can hide the whole facility inside its own bubble." "Is that possible?" Marcus asked. "Theoretically, yes, the equations support it." Zoe continued working at the console. "I need about 10 minutes to set it up." "We may not have 10 minutes, Marcus said, looking at the security feed. The approaching rovers had picked up speed. "Then buy me some time," Zoe said without looking up. "I need to finish this." Marcus nodded. He went to a storage locker and found emergency equipment. Among the items was another neural disruptor like the one he had used on Howard. "I'll do what I can," he said. "But hurry." As Marcus prepared to defend the facility, Zoe worked frantically to activate the space-time folding prototype. Their parents' legacy, and possibly the future of human space travel, depended on what happened in the next few minutes. Marcus moved quickly to the facility entrance. Through the security cameras, he could see the 3 rovers speeding across the Martian landscape toward them. They were heavy-duty models with extra shielding, the kind used by mining companies or private security firms. "They'll be here in less than 10 minutes, he called back to Zoe. "How's it coming?" "Almost there," Zoe replied, her fingers moving rapidly over the control panel. "The system is more complex than I thought. Mom and Dad built in multiple safety protocols." Marcus found the facility's defensive systems and activated them. A force field hummed to life around the building, and automatic sensors began tracking the approaching vehicles. "This might slow them down," he said, "but not for long. These defenses are meant for Martian dust storms, not a determined attack." In the lab, Zoe was working frantically to understand the final activation sequence for the prototype. The circular platform was now glowing with a soft blue light, and the equations floating above it were shifting and changing as she made adjustments. "I think I've got it," she called out. "But there's a problem. The power requirements are enormous. We'll need to shut down everything except the prototype itself." "Including the defensive shield?" Marcus asked. "Yes. Everything." Marcus looked at the security feed again. The rovers were less than 5 minutes away now. He could see figures inside them. At least 8 people total, probably armed. "Do it," he decided. "Better to hide than fight." Zoe nodded and began the final sequence. "Once I start this, we'll have exactly 30 seconds before the bubble forms. Get back here quickly." Marcus rushed back to the main lab as Zoe activated the prototype. The circular platform was now pulsing with energy, and the air above it seemed to bend and distort. "Warning," the facility's AI announced. "Power diversion in progress, defensive systems offline, external communications offline." The lights throughout the facility dimmed as power was channeled to the prototype. Outside, they could hear the rovers approaching, the sound of engines growing louder. 20 seconds, Zoe said, watching the countdown on the display. "Will this actually work?" Marcus asked, standing beside her. "It has to," Zoe replied. The facility shook as something struck the outer door. The security feed showed 3 men trying to force their way in. They wore unmarked black uniforms and carried weapons. 10 seconds, Zoe said. The men outside had attached something to the main door. Marcus recognized it as a breaching charge. "Get down," he shouted, pulling Zoe to the floor just as an explosion rocked the facility. The main door was blown inward, and alarms wailed throughout the building. Through the smoke, they could see figures entering. 5 seconds, Zoe whispered. The platform in the center of the lab was now a swirling vortex of blue energy. The air around it rippled like water, and the sound it made was like nothing they had ever heard before, a high, singing tone that seemed to come from everywhere at once. 3, 2, 1. A man in a black uniform appeared in the doorway of the lab, weapon raised. "Don't move," he shouted, but his voice seemed to stretch and distort, growing slower and deeper. The man himself appeared to freeze in place, his movements slowing to nothing. Around Marcus and Zoe, the world changed. The colors in the room shifted slightly, and the light took on a strange bluish quality. The sound of the explosion and alarms faded to complete silence. "Did it work?" Marcus asked. His voice sounded normal to him. Zoe stood up slowly and checked the console. "Yes, we're inside the bubble now. For us, time is passing normally. But outside..." She pointed to the frozen figure in the doorway. "What's happening to them?" Marcus asked. "From our perspective, time outside the bubble is moving incredibly slowly. What's a second for us might be a fraction of a millisecond out there." Zoe looked at the data scrolling across the screen. "The bubble has created a pocket of altered space-time around the entire facility." Marcus approached the frozen intruder, cautiously. The man didn't move at all. His finger was on the trigger of his weapon, but he might as well have been a statue. "So we're safe?" Marcus asked. "For now," Zoe replied. "But this was only meant to be a test run. The system can't maintain the bubble indefinitely. How long do we have?" Zoe checked the readings. "With current power levels in about 6 hours, then we'll snap back to normal time." Marcus gestured to the frozen attackers. "And they'll still be here, ready to kill us and take the prototype." "Yes. We need to find a way out before the bubble collapses." They spent the next hour searching the facility for anything that might help them. In their parents' private quarters, they found a hidden safe containing personal logs and a small data chip. "Look at this," Marcus said, activating one of the logs. Their mother's face appeared in a holographic display. "If you're watching this," Amara Johnson said, "then you've activated the prototype. We knew this day might come. The technology is too valuable, too dangerous in the wrong hands." Their father appeared beside her. "We've prepared a way out," Daniel Johnson said. "On Mars Base 2, Docking Bay 17, there's a ship. It's the only vehicle in the solar system already equipped with a full-sized version of the space-folding drive. The access code is the date we first took you both to see the Jupiter rings," their mother added. "The ship is called the Doorway. It will take you where you need to go. Trust no one except Captain Olivia Diaz at the SSSC," their father continued. "She knows about the technology and has agreed to help protect it." The message ended, and Marcus and Zoe looked at each other. "They knew," Zoe said softly. "They knew how dangerous this would be. And they prepared a way out for us," Marcus added. "We need to get to Mars Base 2. But how? The moment the bubble collapses, those men will be right on top of us." Marcus thought for a moment, then smiled. "We use the prototype one more time, not to hide, but to move." Over the next few hours, they reconfigured the space-time folding device. Instead of creating a stationary bubble, they modified it to create a corridor, a tunnel through space-time that would connect the facility directly to Mars Base 2. "This is what the full-sized drive on the ship must do," Zoe said as they worked. "Create a path through folded space." When they were ready, they activated the modified prototype. The circular platform's energy expanded, creating a shimmering doorway in the air. "It worked," Marcus said in amazement. "A literal doorway." Through the opening, they could see what appeared to be a docking bay. A sleek ship waited there, unlike any design they had seen before. "That must be the doorway," Zoe said. "The bubble will collapse in 10 minutes, Marcus reminded her. "We need to go now." They gathered the data chips and their parents' research, then stepped through the shimmering doorway together. There was a brief sensation of falling, of being stretched and compressed at the same time, and then they were standing in docking, Bay 17 of Mars Base 2. Behind them, the doorway shimmered once more, then vanished completely. "We did it," Zoe said, looking around in amazement. "We actually traveled through folded space." Marcus pointed to the ship waiting nearby. "And now we have a way to stay ahead of the Helios Consortium." They approached the vessel, its sleek design unlike anything else in the solar system. On its side was the name, Doorway. "What do we do now?" Zoe asked as they stood before the ship. "We protect our parents' legacy," Marcus said. "We make sure their discovery helps humanity, not just the powerful few. We finish what they started." Zoe agreed. Together, they boarded the ship that would carry them, and humanity's future, to the stars.